Hello everybody and all my friends and subscribers. It's Saturday afternoon. I'm going to start off showing you a little bit about something NASA has quickly become interested in. Actually, it's been a few years they've been interested in this, but apparently the Dawn spacecraft has reached its point of target and is maneuvering into an orbit around this asteroid Vesta. The goal is for Dawn to eventually supposedly get about 100 miles above the object and photograph it. So right now it's pretty far out, way more miles, and it's beginning to photograph it. And every time it goes closer to its point of 100 miles above it, it's going to continue to photograph it during the next year. So they're going to know everything there is to know about this object. From what I have learned, Richard Hoagland has spoke about it, and they're supposedly seeing in the other photos not released to the public right angles, ancient ruins, structures. They're very excited about it. So let's go ahead and take a look at these pictures. It just looks like a big chunk of rock in this picture to me, but this is not what they think, and they are very interested in it for some reason. This is supposed to be about 300 miles in its size, and so when you think about that, like he said, brought to mind, it's only 300 miles and you're going to be 100 miles above it, so you're going to be able to get really close, good detail off of what they're seeing. And like he brought to light and pointed out, what they're seeing with the many photos they're keeping and knowing of, public is not getting but one every so often doled out to us. Well, that one shows a little more color to it. It still looks pretty rough. It just looks like a rock. They say there's technology, they think, on there, and they lead to having a mission to rendezvous with it and collect the technology and bring it back to this planet and spur this planet on into its next revolution and advancements. Sounds wild, but those are some of the theories being put forth about this object we're just now paying attention to and getting information about. That's a picture of it as the way the Hubble saw it. Certainly I would feel the Hubble could have focused more clearly than that, but that's the image given. And this is the crew getting it ready. You can see it's very technical, closed environment. They have their suits on, they even film what they do. And this is an image of the place upon it that they feel that there is a crater. And then there is the unit itself. That is the far beyond technology. and this is prior to the liftoff of it and launch. So, it began the trek to the asteroid belt, according to this data, September 27, 2007. As you can see, it's been not traveling quite 4 years. So these guys were quite excited to get this where they wanted it to go, to see what they're wanting to look at. And that's what they have told us about this object. And there you can see is the blast off of it. So that is the new thing, Vesta. I've seen very little on television. I believe I've seen 1 or 2 snippets. Hoagland also did mention Elenin. He's still, in his way of thinking, this is more important than Elenin. But he does find several fascinating things about the numerology of Elenin when it falls closest to the sun, the hour, down to the hour, whatnot, and the numbers part of things. He believes there's something there, and it is something, but he just does not think it is as significant as what this object appears to be. I'm not saying this object won't turn out to be something significant somehow, possibly. But if it took this probe, or this satellite, through over 3 years just to get there, and he's mentioning a mission to rendezvous and collect things from it, then we would be looking definite years in the future. And Elenin is not going to wait definite years in the future for this thing to catch up to come to this point of time, as in now, in the near future. So I still think Elenin is more important than this. Well, let's take a look at what's been going on. There have been a few things, and we'll go through them. Move this a little bit here. Okay. We're going to go into good old US of A first and see what's been going on. So far, we have been lucky enough to escape any major quakes. But that's not the case for everyone. And what I see is up here in Washington, they had a 3.4. Let me blow that up just a hair. And a 3.3 on the 22nd in Utah. And we know that Wyoming has already had in the 3 range up in there prior to them. And of course, you got a 3.3 down here on the 23rd in California. And these Southern California and into this portion of Mexico is bathed in a swath of 2s and 3s range. And then you go up all the way as you head north, and you see right along the line here, and then inland you see they're getting their usual 2s. We'll pop up here to Alaska, and Alaska has had some action. These are the 2s and the 3s in that range up here. They did have the 4-1 on the 21st, but we've had some higher magnitude since the 21st. And I'm going to zoom way in and we can all look at it. And you see this, get a 4, that's the 22nd on that one, and a 4-3 on the 23rd, and you got a 3-6 on the 23rd, you got a 5-3 on the 23rd, you got a 4-6 on the 22nd, and a 5-4 on the 23rd. So this little portion in the peninsula is currently throbbing once more. And we just swing around. We go around our little ring, and we just follow it. And there's a 4-3 right there. As we come down here, and we're reaching out to Japan. And of course Japan suffered the 6-4 on the 23rd. And these are some prior ones, a 4-8 on the 21st, a 5-3 on the 19th, and a 4-6 on the 23rd, 4-6 on the 21st. They did have a lull, amazingly enough, to where they just went dead. Pardon that, they just went silent for several hours, and that was a blessing to them to at least get to be calm for a bit. Now there's a 4-2 in China, and a 4-9 on the 22nd on the Russia-China border. And then we know in the other area, Russian region, they did hit the 6 range, and they got a little action. So this is 5-6 on the 22nd in the Guam region. So you see, we come on down, and we're going to check those out. They are not strong at this moment. There's a 5-1 on the 21st, and that is great for them. And then you motivate all the way down to here, and this little thing, and the 23rd, a 4-9 and a 4-7. Just keep heading it out to the Solomons, and they have their 6 on the 20th and a 4.5 on the 23rd. We have a little action over here. We have a 6 on the 22nd for Fiji, a 5-2 south of the islands, and that would be on the 23rd, and a 5 on the 21st. The Kermadec Island region, 5, 4-9. They are bathed in mainly little high 4s to 5 at the moment. And bring up New Zealand, you had a 4.7 on the 21st. So we can go ahead and proceed to go around the world. Those regions are the most active ones. Let us not forget Arkansas. We know that you're pulsating too. I have seen that you've had some 2s. And let's not forget Canada, a 3 on the 21st. All this little area here, the Puerto Rican region, bathed in 3s and 2s. The Dominican Republic, 3.3. We're going to come down here, over here, in Mexico. They're bathed in 4.5 to 4.7 region earthquakes, 22nd. And then you have a 5 on the 22nd near the coast of Nicaragua, a 4-9 on the 23rd for Costa Rica, a 4-7 south of Panama, 4.5, 22nd coast of Ecuador, 4-6 inland Ecuador, and we come up with a 5.5 on the 23rd in Argentina. We come over here, a little offshore, and we have 5-2 west of the Chile rise on July 22nd. Now, usually this big hunk of land matter seems to be pretty stable, but even on that big one, the 21st Zambia had a 5.2. So they decided that they wanted to be in the, whether they wanted it or not. So they felt one. They have action over here. Southern Greece 4.4 on the 21st. Now there has been some 4 action over around here. We pretty much see our same regions with the same higher magnitudes, and I believe that's going to continue that most of the time. It's going to change at some point where you're at. So that is our currently going on in the world, in our country, the United States. Let's take a look at this. This is about our space weather. Let's see what they say to us. And what they are showing is there's an electron warning. Analysts at the GSFC Space Weather Lab report elevated levels of energetic electrons around the Earth. This is caused by the high-speed solar stream now blowing around our planet. Spacecraft with orbits passing through or in the vicinity of the Earth's outer radiation belt could be affected by these charged particles. Well, that means there's some pretty heavy-duty particles is what they're saying. Stay out of their way, because you might be buying something real bad if you're in their way. And then we have colorful southern lights. The skies over the polar continent have filled with colorful lights in response to the solar wind stream now buffeting Earth's magnetic field. J. Dana Hughes sends this snapshot from the Amundsen Scott Research Station at the geographic South Pole. So, whatever actually really causes these lights, they are very strange and they are very colorful, and it is something to, if they're not harmful, admire. And it's also nice to see this picture of when you get rid of all the light. This is what you can see. All these different stars or planets and whatever else they are, all out there. But down here on planet Earth, there's so much artificial lighting that that gives you the old artificial lighting effect, and you don't get the full effect of being able to see everything unless you get away from the light, block it out somehow, and then your eyes will adjust to a darker spectrum as much as they can, and then when you look up and see, you'll see a whole lot more than what you did before. So these auroras last night were just amazing, some of the best this winter. The frosty scaffolding in the image is attached to the South Pole Telescope, a millimeter wave radio telescope used to study the early evolution of the universe. Rubes operates SPOT during Antarctic's winter months. It's a little cold, but the view is out of this world. High latitude sky watchers should remain alert for auroras as the solar wind continues to blow. And then this is a picture of space shuttle. On the 21st, the crew of the space station took this picture of re-entry of the shuttle. So they're saying that the arc there is Atlantis diving earthward, and that all the crew of the space station were all watching it in awe of watching it re-enter. The green band of light in the background is called air glow. Air glow is a luminous bubble that surrounds our entire planet, decorating the top of the atmosphere with aurora-like color. Although air glow resembles the aurora borealis, its underlying physics is different. Air glow is caused by an assortment of chemical reactions in the upper atmosphere driven mainly by solar ultraviolet radiation. Auroras, on the other hand, are prompted by gusts of solar wind. So, as far as our storm activity goes, yeah, we're being buffeted by some solar wind right now. From what it looks like, the higher latitudes got about a 50-50 chance of experiencing some different disruptions. We're in the lowest category, but we are active, and it just looks like it's going to be hot and windy. And speaking of hot and windy, well, this here's a hot windy picture of my son the other night. And I am here to tell you, it is unreal. It is absolutely burning up, and it has been for a while. It's moving slowly from what we hear on the reports, going to the east and the upper northeast. I've heard it has also even moved into Canada. My forecast, from what I've seen, starting today, all through next week, is anywhere from 106 to 102. More days it forecasts in the mid at 105. This is not heat index adjusted, so you can just add to that. I also heard the reports of, pretty sure it was Iowa, I believe, that had an unreal heat index of 131 degrees. That is out of my mind. I'm beginning to wonder how much hotter it would have to get before we do start seeing some serious power disruptions. Whether that would be in the form of mandatory rolling blackouts in some cases in some areas, which I've already heard that they are doing, but I mean on a larger scale. Or maybe transformers and whatnot just get so hot they just blow. And then it's so hot and dry, things begin to blow up, they can start fires, and there you go. You end up having some very major issues. So I'm not sure how much hotter it would have to get to do that. Or, you know, you've got a whole lot of trees and land and plants and shrubs, and when they get parched and totally dry, and they've had no rain for so long, there is no moisture locked inside anywhere. I'm wondering how hot it has to be before they spontaneously combust. start fire on their own just because the sun is so hot. Now, I know 3 people in my town, and they have water wells, and that's what they water their yards with. And they've had them for years and years and years. I have one in my backyard, but I haven't used it in years. The pump went out, and I never put another pump on it. But that's beside the point. But these 3 people, currently, their wells, they've told me, have went dry. And that's never happened to them before in all the years they've lived in their home, which is longer than 10. And they're you know, they're middle-aged, so they've actually lived there longer than 20. So if that's telling you anything, that means it's so hot and dry that the water table below where they were sucking the water from, they've sucked the water from it and no rain has came or anything and replaced the water they've used, so it's sucked the level down farther than the depth that they drilled their well to. It's either got to be that, or they're just flat out plain isn't any more water in that water table that they drilled into. And if that's the case, then we're working into some really severe situation here. I don't know how much longer this is actually going to go on. Where I live at, they said this could go on 30 more days in a row. And I'm starting to believe they're absolutely correct. Because we knew this object was going to perturb the sun. As it came closer to the planet, it would come closer to the sun before it did to us. So we kind of figured, we wished it wouldn't have, but we kind of figured that when it did, they were going to start fighting, and the sun was going to react to the object, and I figured it would get hotter, and it has. Of course, they say it's a dome, a heat dome. Well, you can call it whatever they want to. But I don't see a let up. I don't see how there can be. If this is true about the object and what it's doing, and we believe it is, then it only makes common sense that it'll continue to perturb the sun, and the sun will continue to react, and we'll get the blunt of the fight, the approach, and the reaction. So I would look probably agreement with the forecasters that it's going to continue to be hot all over. We may possibly somehow get a brief cool down, but in the overall picture, I believe it's going to still stay hot, if not get hotter, which I believe it's going to do. I believe it's going to get hotter. Unbelievable to think that, but I think you're going to see a few more degrees go up. So there's not much you can do except to try to stay cool, to stay under a fan as much as you can, inside or wherever you're at work. If you work inside, if you work outside, take frequent breaks. Don't overexert yourself. Drink a lot of water. Water's, actually better for you than a sport drink. Truly. You talk to any doctor and they'll recommend the water. So, I have my telephone ringing. Well, we won't answer that right at the moment. That is my ringtone. I'll get back to him when I'm done. But anyway, expect it to get a little warmer if you can, but we can hope and pray somehow that we get a break from this and we get normal average amount of rains that doesn't cause any flooding. From what I understand, the ice is the snow is melting pretty good, and it's still adding some to the Missouri River. I don't get too much information. I get some about it. It seems like they don't talk about it very much. They're not talking about the Mississippi very much or anything like that. So I would take that for what it is, meaning it's still continuing. The level of it may not have exceeded anything yet, but look what it's already done as far as the Mississippi River. And there's still water, constantly flowing into it, with the Missouri joining up with it. So that is still continuing. They just don't broadcast it publicly of all the things. So we have not forgot about you anywhere along those lines, nor have we forgot about you in New Orleans. I'm going to do some real checking on New Orleans on their true water levels to know what is coming out at the end of the travel of all that water, because I'm not hearing too much from anyone that lives around there, and I'm going to get a hold of them and ask them to update me on their level at the end of everything. So that is what we have for now. I believe that's all I can think of. When I talk to you about earthquakes, I don't issue an alert. What I mean to say is that every day when we get up in the morning, we're already on an earthquake alert because we know what is going on. So there is no actual day you are on alert, because you're constantly on alert. It's just trying to look at everything and anticipate in a region where you might, in advance, if you can, know a little bit of something about what may occur in that region in the near future. So that's why you don't never really hear me say that, and that's why most of my showing the earthquakes is just an update, because I consider to be on alert 24/7. So with me, it's an earthquake alert every day that we have to keep updated on and try and anticipate regions of where new activities look that they possibly could be going. And it's in the same standard ones right now. We're talking about Alaska and Japan, Indonesian region, all the way winding around, all the way down to New Zealand. So, like I was saying, y'all try to stay cool. And watch out for that sunburn too if you are outside. Make sure you're using some sunblock, because there's a whole lot more radiation in that sunshine now. And we got Fukushima stuff flying around in the atmosphere too, combined with that. So you're going to have to watch it. And I send you all the hope, love, and prayers that I can. And I pray for every one of us. And I ask God to bless you all and keep you all safe. Keep you strong in your faith. And I'll talk to you real soon here. I've got a few other things I'm looking into, but I wanted to come on here and get everybody updated and talk to you for a little while. So until next time, look upstairs above your head You never know when you'll see something.